Hidden backyard corners, cozy landscaping ideas for secret paths and private nooks. In every outdoor space, there exists a quiet promise, a promise of something beyond the obvious, not in the expanse of an open lawn, nor in the deliberate geometry of a grand patio, but in those subtle, almost shy corners that wait patiently to be noticed. These are the places where design becomes an invitation, where a path bends just enough to spark your curiosity, where the air feels different and the sounds soften. Imagine a narrow curve behind a tall hedge, a clearing beneath a tree whose branches seem to lower themselves just for you. These pockets of the garden, they hold a charm that can't be staged. They are not for the crowd, they are for you alone. And it is here, in this seclusion, that a designer's hand must be both deliberate and gentle. The process begins with discovery. Walk your garden slowly. Let your feet find the farthest reaches, the forgotten strips of shade, the corners where light filters in like a secret. Perhaps it's behind a layered hedge, perhaps at the very edge where fence meets tree line. The choice of location is not simply about space. It's about mood, about a feeling that says, here we can pause. Once chosen, we begin to sculpt, not with heavy lines or rigid form, but with a layering of life. Tall shrubs stand at the back, sentinels of privacy. Before them, a tier of flowering perennials, their colours chosen to comfort, not to shout. At your feet, a soft weave of ground covers, creeping thyme, moss or sweet woodruff, their texture whispering that this place belongs to the senses. Where vertical interest is needed, climbing plants rise to the task. Clematis, jasmine, perhaps a climbing rose, each softening the hard edges of a trellis or fence while lifting the gaze upward. And in shaded corners, ferns unfurl their delicate fronds, hostas spread wide, their leaves catching droplets of light. Every choice in planting is deliberate, each one serving both form and feeling. Seating is not an afterthought, it is the anchor. A bench, aged by weather, its wood silvered to a soft patina, a wrought iron chair whose curves mirror the vines that grow nearby, or a hammock, gently suspended between two generous trees, swaying with the faintest breeze. These are not simply places to sit, they are invitations to linger. Comfort is amplified in subtle ways. Cushions in earthy tones, a folded throw for the chill of evening, a lantern with a soft golden glow. Each detail is a thread in the tapestry of the space, woven not for show but for belonging. And then, the journey. The path is more than a means to an end, it is the story that unfolds as you walk. Flagstone lends a rustic grace, brick, a sense of history, gravel, a gentle crunch beneath your steps, grounding each moment. Low borders of lavender or alyssum edge the way, their fragrance rising with every brush of passing fabric. But a path, to be truly secret, must resist the urge to reveal its end. It curves away, disappearing behind foliage. It narrows briefly, then widens unexpectedly. A pergola draped with wisteria may frame a moment of transition, the shift from open garden to private retreat. Along this journey, the designer hides small treasures, a bird bath dappled in shade, a single pot overflowing with blooms, a quiet sculpture discovered only by the attentive eye. Lighting in such places is the poetry of evening. Not bright, not bold, but subtle. String lights threading through branches, solar lanterns nestled low in the plantings, discreet path lights guiding without intruding. Light should serve the mood, not dictate it. The goal is not to banish the dark, but to let the dark hold hands with the glow. Water, too, is a designer's ally. The soft murmur of a fountain, the delicate trickle from a wall spout. These sounds weave themselves into the air, masking the noise of the outside world. Add plantings that draw butterflies or invite hummingbirds, and suddenly the retreat becomes alive, not busy, but quietly, endlessly moving. In the end, these spaces are not measured by square feet or grand gestures. They are measured in moments. The way light falls in the late afternoon, the scent of jasmine on a warm night, the texture of moss beneath your hand. As a designer, you do not just arrange plants and furniture, you choreograph experience. And over time, these hidden places will become memory keepers, witnesses to the changing seasons, to laughter, reflection, and stillness. They will be the places you return to without thinking, because long after you forget the exact design choices, you will remember the feeling they gave you. Designing a hidden backyard corner is an act of quiet orchestration, where every choice, every placement serves the purpose of drawing you inward. In this part of the journey, we move deeper into the craft, how to shape the space not only for the eyes, but for the entire human experience. The first consideration is approach. The way you arrive at a nook determines how you perceive it. A direct path can feel functional, but a meandering one encourages the mind to slow, to shift gears from the outside pace to the rhythm of the garden. We design these approaches with intention, planting denser, taller elements near the beginning to create a gentle veil and allowing the view to open gradually as you step closer. The sounds along the way are as important as the sights. Gravel underfoot offers a satisfying crunch. Wooden decking yields a soft, hollow resonance. Stepping stones break the journey into intervals, like punctuation in a sentence. These auditory cues remind you that you are transitioning from one state of being to another. In choosing the planting palette, we lean into subtlety. A hidden retreat should not overwhelm with color or scent. Instead, it should invite you to notice the quieter details, the shape of a leaf, the way shadows fall on a wall, the faint perfume that drifts only when the air moves just so. Greens dominate the canvas, layered in tone, texture, and height, while seasonal blooms offer moments of surprise. The goal is to create a living background for thought rather than a display demanding constant attention. Materials, too, speak a language. Weathered stone suggests permanence, aged timber carries warmth and history, wrought iron blends strength with elegance. We choose them not for their perfection, but for their character. Surfaces that show time's touch make a space feel lived in, even when newly built. Enclosure is essential, but it is never absolute. We want the nook to feel sheltered, but not sealed. Plantings may rise on 3 sides, while the 4th opens subtly to a borrowed view. A glimpse of sky framed by branches, the silhouette of a distant tree, a sliver of the wider garden that reminds you there is more beyond. It is this balance between seclusion and connection that gives the space depth. Furnishings are chosen for their ability to disappear into the setting when not in use. A low-profile bench tucked beneath foliage, a chair whose frame echoes the curves of nearby branches, a table barely large enough for a cup and a book. These are not pieces to dominate the space, but to serve it quietly. Texture becomes the unspoken richness of the nook. The rough face of stone under your fingertips, the smooth grain of wood, the feathery brush of ornamental grass as you pass. By layering tactile experiences, the garden becomes more than a visual delight. It becomes a place you inhabit with your whole body. Light changes everything. Morning brings a gentle, cool illumination. Mid-afternoon filters through leaves, dappling the seat where you might linger. Evening casts long, golden shadows that make the nook feel even more intimate. As designers, we position seating to capture these moments, to make the visitor feel that the space is somehow in conversation with the sun. Seasonal adaptability is another quiet layer of design. In spring, the nook might be framed by fresh greens and the scent of new blossoms. In summer, it becomes a shaded refuge from the heat. Autumn wraps it in warm tones and the rustle of falling leaves. Winter strips it bare, revealing the structure of branches, the strength of form, and perhaps a single evergreen that holds the memory of colour. We also consider the element of time, not just in seasons, but in years. A well-designed hidden corner matures gracefully. Plants fill out, paths soften at the edges, the furniture gains a patina that speaks of countless quiet moments. This slow evolution is not a flaw, it is the very soul of the space. And so, the hidden nook becomes more than a feature of the garden. It becomes an extension of the self. A place where thoughts can stretch without interruption, where the noise of the outside world fades into the background hum of wind and leaf. It is a space shaped not only by design principles, but by the understanding that beauty lies as much in what you leave unsaid as in what you create. When a hidden garden path or corner finally feels complete, it is not because every detail has been perfected, but because the space has begun to breathe on its own. This is the moment when design steps back and the garden's life takes over. In the final layer of crafting such a place, we focus on refinement, those subtle touches that transform a well-made nook into a cherished retreat. This is where the space becomes deeply personal, where it begins to tell your story. One of the most powerful ways to achieve this is through objects with meaning. A weathered terracotta pot that once sat on your grandmother's porch, a wrought iron lantern you found on your travels, a stone picked up from a beach years ago. These items carry a narrative, and when placed thoughtfully, they turn the nook into a living memory. The goal is not to clutter, but to curate. Each object should have a reason to be there, even if that reason is known only to you. Scent is another invisible architect. The sweet drift of honeysuckle in late spring, the grounding aroma of rosemary when brushed against, the faint spice of dianthus on a warm afternoon. By placing fragrant plants near seating or along the path, we weave smell into the memory of the place, ensuring that even years later, a single breath can bring you back. Movement, too, is essential. Not the hurried motion of people, but the slow choreography of nature. Grasses that sway in the breeze, leaves that flutter in layered rhythms, the slow opening of blooms in morning light. A small water feature adds another layer, ripples on the surface, glints of reflected sun, and the quiet trickle that stitches time together in an unbroken thread. Wildlife becomes part of the design without ever being formally invited. A bird bath might welcome robins in spring. Nectar-rich flowers bring hummingbirds that hover like jeweled thoughts. Butterflies drift through as if pulled by invisible threads. These encounters are not distractions, they are living proof that the space is part of a larger, breathing world. Maintenance is the silent partnership between gardener and garden. A hidden nook demands less perfection and more care, trimming what crowds too close, replacing what fades, sweeping the path after a storm. It is in this gentle upkeep that you form a bond with the space, learning its habits, its moods, the way it changes in response to your touch. Lighting in the mature nook is not about novelty, is about mood. A candle in a glass hurricane casting a slow dance of shadows. A single, low spotlight on a tree trunk revealing textures unseen by day. A pathway lit just enough to guide your steps without stealing the mystery. The goal remains the same, to honor the quiet, not disrupt it. Over time, the design's sharp edges blur. Plants grow into one another, creating unplanned harmonies. Colors shift with the seasons, sometimes surprising you with combinations you never set out to create. The furniture takes on the patina of use. The stones along the path settle deeper into the earth. This is the beauty of a living design. It refuses to remain static. A truly successful hidden corner or secret path does not just serve as a destination, it becomes a state of mind. It is where you go not only to be alone, but to be present. To hear the low hum of insects in the heat of summer, to trace the pattern of frost on a winter morning, to watch the last light of day stretch its fingers through the leaves before fading. As an architect of such spaces, I know that the greatest compliment is not when someone says, "This is beautiful." It is when they pause, breathe, and simply stay. When the world beyond the hedge or the bend in the path ceases to matter, and the only thing left is this: light, air, scent, sound, and the feeling that in this exact moment, you are exactly where you should be. This is the quiet triumph of design, not in grandeur, not in spectacle, but in the creation of a place that holds you gently and in its own way never lets you go.